Hi, folks. We're live. It is Wednesday, December the 12th. No, Wednesday, December the 11th. So Larry's with us. He's monitoring what's going on with the hearing in the Senate with Lindsey Graham. So take it away, Larry.
All right, folks. Now today is an interesting day. I will be working on something very, very, very important to help us stop this madness. Do you hear me? To help us stop this madness. Before I get into that, I want to tell you about what's interesting today. Number one, most of you saw Lindsey Graham, I would assume, in his opening statement in the hearing. And I would say to all of you, he did a very, very good job. Very good. He laid it out, layman's terms, spelled it out pretty clear, and he actually, to my mind, told simply the absolute truth. So then, when he said what he did, which was anybody that looks at this report, you'll have to forgive me because I've been real busy hard and my lungs are just about deflated. Anybody, he made it quite clear by saying if anybody thought after reading that report that there was no political bias, and I'm just cutting it short, and all of this junk, he says, if anybody thought that, then you're just really, really wrong. As he pointed out, as he showed, as I say, he proved, it was absolutely inescapable that Horowitz's summary conclusion can't be true. This is what I was talking about the other day when we got stabbed in the back. It is not possible for Horowitz to basically say that they found no documented evidence of political bias and all of this junk. That's what he says. But it's not possible, right? So here goes Lindsey Graham. He tells the absolute truth. It cannot be contradicted, each cited chapter and verse. He gave the quotes. He read right off of the text messages and other things that he had to verify it. He read it right off of it. So then comes Dianne Feinstein. I think, folks, in a split second, here comes Dianne Feinstein. She squares off with Horowitz. And she point blank asked him, if you remember this, she point blank asked him, I'm paraphrasing, but point blank asked him, did you not say there was no political bias? And what the prerequisite for this investigation? And he said yes. Now, how in a matter of 1 second can you have that happen? Does anybody know? In a matter of 1 second, after a talk by Lindsey Graham, where he cites chapter and verse, and gives copies and proof and quotations from what's said, et cetera, and then she comes right back and says, now, your report says there was no political bias in the prerequisite. Has anybody figured out the riddle yet?
Well, I'm sure it's a play on it. It's got to be a play on words with semantics of some sort, right?
No. Has anybody figured out the riddle? And it's a riddle me know. Can somebody send a text in, send a message in? Can you tell me the riddle? The riddle. Because there is one.
Hey, Sharon, where's Mike today? He should know.
Now, while you're trying to solve the riddle, which of course is a mission that I have to be on, you will soon learn the importance of what I've got to do. I'm going to have to execute you in this program. You're going to have to support me for 2 to 3 days, very fast. I've got work to do that is going to have to require outside expenses other than just my daily junk. So, this is a battle day. This is a war day. This is a day when we engage in the war, and I have to ask y'all to engage as well, because what I have to do relative to this riddle needs your help, your financial help.
And the PayPal, Larry, the PayPal account is up on the screen, nicholslive@aol.com.
You folks, I'm going to have to get deep today, because there are going to be some serious expenses incurred in doing what must be done. Serious expenses must be incurred. Have we heard anybody going in with the riddle, Mary Ellen? I don't want to waste the program time.
No, sir.
All right. Let me share the sleight of hand, the riddle. What Lindsey Graham is talking about is the case against all of them, Trump, all of them, FISA, all of that. He's talking about how the players that were immediately involved, I mean, I'm talking about the top players that were immediately involved in this thing. We talk about political bias, there it is, it's all over it. It's right there in your face. You cannot deny that. You cannot deny that. But on the other hand, Einstein said, Mr. Horowitz, if you have, or is your conclusion that you have no evidence, now remember what Lindsey Graham is giving you text quotations, so he's got the text, so that's obviously documentation, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So how then does Einstein get the answer 1 second later from Horowitz?
Is he claiming that he didn't see the evidence that Lindsay brought forth?
No, it's all in his report. He's got every bit of it in his report. No. And where is that? Horowitz would not have stabbed all of us in the back. He would not have stabbed. He would not have participated in stabbing Laura and the American people and President Trump in the back. If that were the case, he would have been guilty of stabbing us in the back. He would have been the betrayer. It's that damn riddle. That damn riddle. He said, according to Einstein, and Einstein asked him that he verified again, and as is the summary she read his summary from his, she read his conclusion right from his report, saying they found no evidence of political bias. The prerequisite starting all of this mess. Whoops. I just gave it up. It's here to give it up now.
In the prerequisite. So there was political bias, but not in the prerequisite.
You see, when this all begins with Horowitz, it comes from a friendly country, which we did not state who it was. A friendly country notifies the Department of Justice of Papadopoulos, or whichever one of them it was, know. Who did it go to? Does anybody know that? They said it, but it's been passing and then focused on, like I will assure you we're going to focus on it, and that that's going to be focused on.
Did it go to Obama?
No, not Obama.
McCabe?
No. Anybody know? Where are y'all? Is anybody listening to us? We don't have anybody on the show.
Yeah, we got 60. We have 60 with us.
Did somebody hear that? I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but they went to a man named Osprey or something like that. Neil Osprey. Neil Osprey. Osprey. Now, correct me on that name. Somebody can type in the real name. I'm probably messing it up. I'm pretty sick and my hearing's not so good. That's where the prerequisite notification came into. And
Who's
they
he?
are learning. What?
Who is this guy? Because I've never heard that name recently.
As we are learning, I thought apparently the chain of power in the FBI went Comey, McCabe, assistant director, and then into like people like Strzok and etc. Well, apparently there's another level of laws involved in it because this guy's apparently over McCabe. I don't know if he's over Comey. I shouldn't think so, but he's at some higher level than Strzok and McCabe and all of them because they had to report to him. And guess what? See, here is the riddle. Here is the riddle. He found no proof of any bias of this Osprey guy. Apparently he wasn't loose in sending out texts saying how he hated Trump or how bad this was. I mean, he obviously was more professional than to use his government phone and text equipment to send messages, emails. He apparently was professional. And we don't know his biases. We don't know it. So technically, guys, look what smart criminals can do to us. I was once a part of a group. We were called the Good Soup Club. And basically we were young Turks in a third-rate state called Arkansas. But we thought we were smart. Compared to the people around the state at the time, we were certain we were smart. But you know why we were smart? We really wasn't that much smarter than anybody back then. We thought we were. We knew we were. We were cocky. It's just we were dealing in levels of criminality that regular people don't do. Regular people don't do that. Regular people don't deal in areas of skirting or using the law to commit a crime. Do you think like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You've taught us to think like that, Larry.
Huh?
You've taught us to think like that.
Yeah, well, we did. We did. And so if you're a smart criminal, which we were, we knew the law. We knew the law, and what's funny about the law, we knew what parts of the law we knew that others did not know as a matter of their regular course of daily lives. So therefore, you could blindside people all the time. And right when they thought they had you, poof, here you come with a law that no one knew existed that protected you, and you didn't break it. In fact, you didn't break that law, you were protected. When I had anybody else on planet Earth have done what we did, unless they had one of the most criminally minded attorneys on earth, their attorney would have never known that such a law would protect them and used it in most cases. You see, what I'm describing to you, in your little history, this smart criminal law thing is what caused us to have Riddle. Did y'all know that? Title 18, racketeering. Did y'all know that? Oh, yeah. Where it came from. You see, the mob bosses, they would go and they were big-time crime syndicate people, right? They commit crimes. Well, what did the government do? The government run out and try to arrest them and try to prosecute them. Well, what did we have to prosecute the criminals, the crime bosses with? We had government-paid prosecutors. And usually government-paid prosecutors, which I still contend today, usually government-paid prosecutors are not technically the sharpest lawyers in America. If you are an extremely brilliant attorney in America, you're in private practice, you're not working for the government. So here would come these criminal bosses, these racketeering guys. They would get caught committing some kind of major crime. Here comes the federal prosecutors. What would happen? They would go out and they hired and kept on staff these brilliant legal criminal minds.
Who was hiring
How to exploit.
hang on, who was hiring the criminal minds? The mob bosses or the?
Yeah, the criminals, the mob bosses, the big bosses. Big guys. Big bosses, the gangsters, the top of the level gangsters, the top. The reason they didn't get prosecuted, the reason they didn't go to justice, they hired these brilliant criminal attorneys or kept them on staff. And so it was an unfair match. Here comes a government prosecutor, attorney, lawyer, going up against a brilliant private lawyer. So what did the government do? They got tired of losing. Right? We got tired of losing. So they created Title 18, legal racketeering. What that law does, which I honestly question it being right. I know why they did it. I understand why they did it. And it is probably a good thing that it was done because it has sure not to hold an organized crime to a great extent. But at the same time, I don't know if it's totally right. But they said, okay, we got this figured out. So if you are charged under RICO or Title 18 racketeering, the government comes in and strips you of everything you have immediately, instantly. They take your money, they close your bank account, they take your home, they take your cars, they take your diamonds, your jewelry, and you cannot get an attorney pro se. You cannot have an attorney work pro se for you. You have to basically use a court-appointed attorney. And a court-appointed attorney is usually about the only attorney that in the level of skill is below that of a prosecutor, federal prosecutor, or local prosecutor. That's how we started doing it. What you're seeing in this case, however, the riddle, this was very well played. Very well played. And Horowitz, now some of you may choose to say that Horowitz was an innocent victim of what I shall call smart law, smart criminals. You may think he's just an innocent victim. I choose to not believe that. That's my opinion, so put it down as my opinion. One of the things that I knew and learned about smart criminals, lawyers. We had several tricks, and one of them was a thing called a gradient. Now, gradient has many definitions in the dictionary, etc. But in this application, gradient just means kind of like an obstacle or wall. And so Horowitz was able to use the prerequisite component of this investigation. The prerequisite component to protect the Democrats of what they're trying to do through their impeachment. Much as Mueller did with his investigation. Remember, what did Mueller do in his investigation? What did he put forth as kind of as a gradient? He said, although they could not find evidence of Trump committing such and such crime, whatever, but they could not find any proof he did not, which is not the standard of law. Instead of law, you're innocent until proven guilty. Not guilty until you're proven innocent. Well, Mueller used that as a gradient. He created a gradient. He couldn't prove he's innocent, so therefore he left it to the Democrats. And guess what? Impeachment as the remedy to fix it. Throwing it to impeachment, which was the day that you converted a legal issue. Remember, this is what I was telling you on Jason's program yesterday. This is what I was telling you on Jason's program yesterday, is how Barr was talking about how they have recognized law. They took a legal issue, which was a crime of obstruction of justice or conspiracy or collusion with Russia, and then turned it around and said that they can't prove they didn't do it. They can't say he's innocent, so therefore it turned that legal issue of obstruction of justice into a quasi-political issue, which threw into the bag of what? Impeachment. So then it goes into impeachment, and that's where we are today. On one part of this, but the cliffhanger, the thing that breaks up the cliffhanger of the impeachment that Schiff and Nadler and Pelosi were trying to pull off, was this thing hanging over the head. They have been caught committing fraud against the FISA court. But how do you meet committing fraud against the FISA court? You go back to the criminals that were committing the fraud against the FISA court and knew they were committing fraud against the FISA court. Many of them are not stupid. Rosenstein's not stupid. You know that. When Rosenstein sat on that stage and said, you know, when you swear in the test that what's in this FISA thing is true, there are consequences. He knew that, obviously. So you think they didn't know it when they put the thing out, when they knew the Steele report was bogus? Of course they did. Well, then you know they were smart enough to know that, then they must have been smart enough guys to know that they were setting themselves up to be prosecuted unless along the way they have used a gradient. Prerequisite, whatever you want to call it, the thing that allowed the whole FISA counterintelligence investigation to start. And they did it with a guy, whatever his name is. Think about it. What did I say his name was? This is such a mind bender.
You said his name was Osprey or something like that.
Osprey, something like that. Yes, Osprey. So now, if we are save this country. Someone outside Attorney General Barr, someone outside of Special Prosecutor Durham, someone outside of Congress actually, needs to be in a position to find out about this osprey and whether or not he is actually pure of political biases. And I need your help. Put the people I know to work helping us do that. Now I'd like to ask a question here 26 minutes into the program. Has this helped any of you? Has this done any good for any of you? Please, would you tell me?
Well, it has for me. It'll take a minute for the people to respond. It takes a minute for it to come up.
I do hope you understand. This is terrible. It's terrible in that we're fighting, trying to be legal, our side. We're fighting being constrained by all the things that are legal and right. They're not. They're not. And the net outcome of this hearing today, I assure you, is going to be exactly that of everything else we have seen. When people walk away from this hearing today, those of us that know a fraud was committed against the FISA court, those of us that know we are in the middle of a coup, soft coup albeit, but a coup to destroy President Trump, and then, of course, our country. When we get through today, that's what we will know. We will have to our side, to our credit, we will have a fine presentation conducted by Lindsey Graham. It was. Give him that. It was truly a fine presentation. It was simple. It was very understandable, very truthful. But to the other side, they had the finality of the report. They had the finality of Michael Horowitz's conclusion, which was that there was absolutely nothing wrong with the prerequisite that caused this entire investigation to start. Now, where it gets muddy, Horowitz does a weak job in the rest of his report presentation. You know, he does not deny that they lied at least the second and third time about getting the FISA thing removed. He doesn't cover that. He doesn't cover anything up. He tells it. But you see, it's going to be buried. The people that believe they want to get rid of Trump at all costs, they're not going to hear anything about the conduct of the investigation behind the opening statement of Feinstein, where she repeats his summary of the opinion. They're not going to get into any of that. Our side's going to dwell in it. Our side's going to go, oh my God, can you believe this? Can you believe they did this? And can you believe they're caught? Can you believe even Horowitz caught it? That's the way it's going to come out. It's called a zero-sum game. Things are going to have gone nowhere in developing the mind shaping the opinions of the people. Nobody. And many of you believe that. Many of you know that. Has anybody answered, Mary Ellen? Has anybody even responded to anything I've asked?
Yeah, there are two questions. Well, somebody said absolutely they appreciate what you've done, and somebody said they're kind of and trying to understand what you're saying. Somebody said from Hawaii said that President Trump said last night, fight to victory or die. We have two questions. Why isn't Trump doing more, and what can we do?
All right, President Trump is doing what President Trump can do. I wish y'all could believe that. I truly do. I'm so hurt thinking about him, thinking about folks, him, the frustration he's in, the level of pain he's going through, and knowing he knows you want him to do more. I can promise y'all that. I can't tell you exactly how I know, but you better believe it. I know better than most of you could even imagine how bad he feels. That he feels he's letting us down because he's not able personally to do more. They can't. He can't. And then when it comes to us, our course is as set, as is the course I told you of the zero-sum game of today's hearing. It's all going to come down to the election of 2020. And that election is going to come down whichever side, Trump's base, or the DNC base, whichever side gets their people out to vote. By whatever means, they have to get their side out to vote. And remember, with the Democratic Party, the end justifies the means. They will say or do anything. They will say or do anything to get their side to come out and vote. And they will say or do anything to dissuade our side. Any weak links we have on our side to get the weak links to not vote. I just worry that we are not tough enough to take the pain. And in this case, much of the pain is just the sheer boredom and doldrum. And that's what we've got to do. Now, we're going to have some interruption to that. If it does go to a Senate trial, then we are going to activate our force multiplication program in a big and aggressive way. Big and aggressive way.
Hang on a sec, Larry. When we are doing our force multiplication, tell me if this is an okay idea. I am going to suggest to everybody that they contact any and everybody they know to help us with this. For example, anybody you listen to on YouTube as an alternative media site who has a nice following, make sure they know what we're doing and get them to follow. And the most important thing will be, if they're going to use Larry's name, they have to follow the script exactly as you write it. If somebody wants to put the information out to their people to call and do not want to use your name with it, then they have to change the script in order to leave it out. But they cannot use your name without following exactly, correct?
Well, correct. But I would alter what you said in one way. The actual technique, the things, the tetronics that we use to pull off force multiplication, the number of calls, who you call, how you do it, all of the techniques that you know or will know if you're part of this and want to be part of it, that will be kept exclusive, Mary Ellen, to us and our group. Now, yes, however, we do need everybody to get in touch with everybody they can, other programs, other people, whatever, them to make phone calls, and I think we'll probably have a script for those people to call and say, we want them to make calls too. But they will not be involved in the intricacies of how we will do force multiplication. Do you understand that? We can't go, for example, to Lisa Havens and ask Lisa Havens' audience to make calls to their Republican senators to make sure they stand up for Trump. But then over Lisa Havens' program through Lisa or through somebody else try to train them on the tricks of the trade and force multiplication. We just can't do it. So it'll have to suffice that we get Lisa Havens' audience, please call the senators, etc. But we will not involve them in the intricacies of how we do force multiplication. You got it?
Yes, sir.
And Ellen is exactly true, exactly right about what is said. The script that we will use in force multiplication will be very significant, very significant. And if somebody's going to vary from that, they've got to take my name off of it, or you can put me in legal jeopardy. Serious legal jeopardy. And by the way, nobody has deemed our, well, yes they have. David sent 25, thank you, David. Folks, I'm serious about this. I must raise alternative monies today and now, because I have in some ways told you in a little bit of code what I've got to be working on, and it's something that I have to go outside of me. I've got to involve other people and other expenses to get done. So I need you all today, this day. I don't feel so bad about asking, because it's not asking exclusively for me. I don't feel bad about asking for help today, because it's not just for me. It's for work that's got to be done, that I have to have the funds available to do, and I do not have them, obviously. So if there's somebody out there that's got an extra 1,000 or two, would you please throw it in today? This is a war day. This is a day when we all must ante up. We have a mission to complete. We have work to be done. And it's going to require outside help. So if you're out there, make your mind up today. After what you've seen today, hopefully after what I've tried to tell you today, I'm not trying to impress you, but I hope to show you through today's explanation of the riddle and what's going on. This is not your everyday run-of-the-mill politics in America, guys. This is not your everyday run-of-the-mill, just somebody trying to beat Trump. That's not what this is. This is very sophisticated, very high level, very elaborate, and incredibly dangerous and deadly tactics and things that are going on that most people, y'all, just don't even have a clue even exist, much less they're going on. I don't know how many of you have heard of this stuff. I would have never heard about it if I hadn't lived through it and been a part of it. I wouldn't have known about it. Why would I? Why would you? I just hope in my simple telling you about it that you're able to understand enough of it to see how effective it is and how significant it is.
Hey, Larry, Pastor Roach is asking, he said a supporting reason for Horowitz coming to his conclusion is that there's a FISA process renewal vote on December 15th, and the deep state doesn't want to lose their ability to gather information on all of us.
Well, yeah, and this is another part, Pastor, that they're trying to one of the mainstays of the Senate and of Congress generally is whenever they are caught in a situation like this, instead of rectifying the matter at hand, instead of dealing with the issue at hand and the seriousness of the impact of the issue at hand, you know what they do? They say, well, this happened, and what we better do is we better fix it so it can never happen again. And then they get everybody looking at, well, don't worry about what just happened. Don't worry about what's going on with President Trump. Don't worry about the abuse of the FISA system and how they did it and its impact on the country. Don't worry about that. What you need to worry about is that we learn from this and make it a learning experience. And then when we have our recertification vote, that we address it and fix it so that this kind of stuff can never happen again. Let me tell you something, guys. Under existing rules, this should have never happened. It should have never happened under existing rules. Now, number one, is there a specific rule having to do, now watch this, here you go with these different ways they trick these things. Is there a specific rule in the applicable procedures and policies and laws having to do with FISA court summonses or warrants? Is there a thing in there that says you cannot discuss your political biases in communication between parties that are involved in an investigation? All right? The answer to that is no. No, there's not. There's really not. But let me tell you, there are all kinds of laws within the FBI, rules and standards. I've seen them, been part of them. All kinds of rules in the FBI that strictly prohibit members of the FBI, and also the same thing applies with the Justice Department, from using government equipment such as phones, computers, etc., and expressing one's private political opinion. That's a real no-no. You're not able to do it. You're not supposed to do it, and you can be fired over doing it. How you like that? So I guess what they're saying is, well, yes, that applies, but they don't actually say it in the actual words having to do with FISA warrants. So we're going to have to put that in with FISA warrants as well, right? That's crazy. It is a government rule. It's already a rule. It's a standard by which all government equipment being used by investigative bodies must adhere. And just because they left it out of the fine print in an exact FISA warrant, get real. Get real. And I assure you, whatever they change when they recertify it to make sure that this day never happens again, trust me, there will be enough left, with room left for them to do another. See, they're not doing anything to stop the problem. You know what the problem is? The problem's the riddle, right, Mary Ellen? The problem is the riddle. And what was the riddle? The riddle was the prerequisite. The prerequisite, the guy that got the initial contact, right? The prerequisite for the investigation. There was no proof anywhere that he had expressed any political bias, right? You got it?
Yeah.
All right, so then how, when you redesign this better way to do it so you don't get caught doing this again, how do you fix that? There was nothing broke about that in the first place, was there?
Yeah.
You know?
Nothing broke about it.
Okay, he did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong, as it appears. He had no public display. There's no evidence anywhere of this There's no proof of that anywhere. So how do you fix that the next time? All you've done is just make sure the next time that whoever they choose to start it with, again, make sure they're clean. And as long as they're clean and there's no records laying around anywhere of their political bias, then guess what? You can do it all over again, just like they did this time.
Oh, as Pastor wrote,
people like Strong and Page and them, they can't talk about it either. Once it gets started, you'll have to keep it amongst the word all the way through. Which, guess what? That just makes it harder to find the next time.
yeah.
It doesn't stop it. It just makes it harder to catch.
Yeah, the pastors say it just looks like more semantics, just word games. And
Yes.
now, Larry, people are asking about funding. Somebody's suggesting a GoFundMe. We had a GoFundMe.
No. We don't have time for any of that. Please, y'all. We don't have time for any of that. This is an emergency case. This is an emergency case. I have got to move. I've got maybe 48 hours, maybe a few more hours, but I've got to turn up evidence fast. So would you please, I thank you for considering these options. Yes, thank you for that. But this is an urgent call.
Yeah, there isn't time either, Nick, to mail money to his home. We don't have time for it to go through the mail. We need it to go through PayPal, and he gets it immediately. He needs it right now.
Now, there may be something, Marilyn, that you might be able to do. Somebody could communicate with you in some way. They could get something to you to get to me quick. I don't know. It'd be worth
Yeah.
a discussion if somebody has something that they could do that way if they don't have PayPal. But this is an urgent operation need. This is not an operation like medical. This is an urgent. Work's got to be done. Please, y'all, everybody suit up on this one. It's not for me. I mean,
Mary says it's all a farce.
I'm sorry.
Mary says it not the one that's donated this morning. Another Mary says it's all a farce.
You mean it's a farce? What I'm saying?
No, I think she's saying. No, I think she's saying
That they're doing is a farce.
what they're doing is a farce.
Yes, it is. But if the devil is due, it's a smart farce. These guys know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. And by the way, this is not today for us to discuss it. But I am involved, not by wanting to be, but ended up in it. There is more to come in the impeachment phase of this thing as well. They're not true. How many of you are with me? Really? How many of you are with us? How many of you are willing to step up now when it counts, when it matters, and actually take a role, take a part in something that is immediately involved in fighting this problem? Immediately involved in fighting this problem. And many of you, you've all asked, well, this is your time.
Yeah.
This is your time.
We got one question. Can Trump take the abuse of power and obstruction of Congress to the Supreme Court?
I'm going to answer this in a way that I can. So y'all will have to some degree, read a bit between the lines. This I am going to give you as a hypothetical in my opinion. You got it? A hypothetical in my opinion, or my opinion of a hypothetical. manner, could be issued in that manner, in that Congress may have exceeded their power, their constitutional power, and obstructed justice far greater than the president, were he even guilty of what they allege. Now, I hope y'all understood that. That was a convoluted sort of goofball.
Well,
I got Annie 20. Thank you, Annie. Thank you so much.
it seems
So
to
I
me,
got 20. I got 5 from Clifford, about 25 from David. Please, y'all, come on through. Please come on through. Quick. I'm sorry. Go ahead, ma'am.
it seems like the Congress is trying to usurp the separation of powers and exceed. It seems to me they're trying to exceed their power. I mean, when you think of Pelosi saying, I'm equal to the president and you need to work with me, not him, and at least, you know, that's what we've heard she's done abroad. It just seems like there's just, it's crazy. So this guy is saying, why isn't Barr going to the Supreme Court right now?
It would not be Barr's task to do so at this time. That would not be his task at this time. And remember, Barr is assigned the task of the prosecutorial portion of what's going on today. I'm just lumping it all in one big pile. What's going on today? He's involved in the prosecutorial side, as in a way is Durham, but Durham also is involved in the data gathering or building a roadmap of what's actually going on. So you have a prosecutorial hang-up, which is the court system, as we've discussed over and over and over and over. So even if he was ready and is able to prosecute, I'm just picking somebody, James Comey, at this very second. As you know, with the makeup of the DC court and the New York court and the courts that would probably have purview over these cases, we are in trouble finding legitimate, fair, legal courts to go into. But when you think in terms of him going to the Supreme Court, and I know everybody does, we all think, well, God, if we can just get it to the Supreme Court, at least there, supposedly, you know, with Kavanaugh and Roberts and whatever we're supposed, and Clarence, I mean, we're supposed to have the majority there, so we should get fair treatment in the Supreme Court, which is a possibility. But remember, Kavanaugh's already done it. Roberts has certainly done it. They both stabbed us in the back before. So remember, you can't trust any of them. However, the Supreme Court seems to be the fairest venue we could get into. But guys, remember, a Barr cannot snap his finger and say, let's fast track to the Supreme Court. He has to go through the process, which involves lower court exposure. So it's not a done deal that anybody can just pick up the phone and say, I want this heard in the Supreme Court.
We've got 2 questions. Can Trump fire everybody at the top of the FBI?
Yes, he can. And I wish he would fire Ray. I do wish he would fire Ray today, but I don't think he will because of the political mess it would cause him. It would just give the Democrats more to hang their hat on. They would claim he's getting rid of Ray because Ray agreed with the Horowitz setup, and so therefore he's getting rid of Ray. They would say to once again block justice and to protect himself. So obviously that would be a negative against him. But there's a lot of people now wished he would fire, and I wish now that he had not have hired. And I'm sure he does as well. What's the other?
Is there anything we can ask our local sheriff to help us do?
No, there is not.
And somebody was asking something about investigating Soros involvement at the local level. Can we find Soros candidates and follow his money?
Yes, you can. I don't know that I'm the program to do it. I don't have the time. I just don't, y'all. I don't have the time to devote to the research. We certainly don't have a staff. I mean, the staff's Mary Ellen and I, and we don't have time to do anything to speak of hardly beyond what we're doing. So, yes, there could be, and as a matter of fact, should be some group set up to dog Soros. I found out this morning, Soros and one of the Koch brothers formed a new think tank. And this new think tank, they both apparently put like $500,000 just to kick it off into. And their think tank is to affect, which they would have the power to do with the money they've got, to affect our foreign policy and totally change and transform the way Trump wants to do things. Sure did. Heard that this morning. And nobody's dinging this paper thing. Come on, ding it, folks. Would you please ding it? Where are you today when we've really got something material that we have to do? We have to do it. This is not a typical joke on the internet that so many people play, and it's not just a single source to help me get through a day. That's not what this is. Where are you? Can you tell me? I'm going to keep on the phone. I'm going to stay right here. You've got questions, ask them. I'm not going. I'm not leaving. This is for our country, folks. It's for all the marbles today. You understand that? It's kind of important that y'all be able to explain, to be honest, as complicated as it is, the riddle. Because there are going to be a lot of people on our side, people that are in our base that are soft. Maybe they're not even soft, but they're confused. They don't understand. You've got a chance to explain to them why you can have what Lindsey Graham say be true, and you can have what Horowitz and Einstein say and be true, all within the matter of a second. Both be right. Don't you think that would be interesting for some of your friends to know? Don't you think that would put you in pretty good stead with your friends to make them at least know maybe you're not the dummy that they think you are? I'm not saying talk to people that hate Trump. We're not going to ever get them and convince them, but I'm talking about people that might be starting to backslide some, might be weakened by what they're hearing today. Oh, come on, guys, talk to me. Don't just sit there quiet. Damn. What do you got, Mary Ellen? Anybody say anything? I just totally blown it today.
No. Gloria just joined us. She said Jay Sekulow said in that the Comey was not vindicated by the IG report.
No, absolutely not. But Gloria, now, if you understand what they've done, you see how he bases what he says on CNN and everywhere else that he is vindicated. He says he's vindicated because David Horowitz, the Inspector General, investigated this thing, said that there was no evidence, proof of political bias triggering this counterintelligence investigation in the beginning. Gloria, were you here to hear the explanation of that, hon?
No, she just got here, and so she's gonna listen to the beginning after we're done.
Let me say it again for those new people in a simple way, or as simple as that can be said. The trick to how Comey, McCabe, and all of these criminals are claiming that they have been vindicated. They claim it all of the words in the report, which is the final summary outcome of Horowitz. Horowitz says in his statement that they found no evidence of political bias triggering the counterintelligence investigation that started all of this. And when I say all of this, it's the counterintelligence investigation against Papadopoulos and against whatever the other guy. It's that investigation that was triggered by a friendly foreign country alerting this country that there might be some hanky-panky going on with the Russians and our election. All right? The reason they can claim that vindication is because the person that the friendly government went to was a person whose name is
Osprey.
Bill Osprey, or something like that. Bill Osprey. And they found in looking into him, Gloria, they couldn't find any proof on government phones, on text and emails and anything where he was so politically biased against Trump. They couldn't find anything on him. Now, that's where it stops. That's where it stops. So, yes, they didn't find proof that there was any political bias in the predicate, meaning the beginning of the counterintelligence investigation. They didn't find any.
And Pastor Roach is saying one of the reasons they couldn't find anything is because he could only talk to the FBI and DOJ officials, whereas the real spying began in the intelligence community?
Yeah, and it gets worse than that, which is part of what I'm trying to do with help that I seek from all of y'all.
Mm-hmm.
He was exactly limited, as the pastor says. He was limited to that which he can get through his position and his office. He could not go outside. He could not subpoena. He couldn't. Anyway, he could only deal with what was available to him through his office. Now, where it gets terrible, Gloria, which he is, where Comey was just leaving out this part. If everything was over, begins and is over with the beginning of the counterintelligence investigation, then, guess what? It's over. But that's just the beginning part. That's the prerequisite. The actual developments of this counterintelligence investigation, when they get into getting the FISA court to issue warrants and open up investigations, when they get into all of that, you see, now all of a sudden, the turf is littered with political biases. That's where you start seeing all of the text and the emails from Strzok and Page and all of these other things get involved. But you'll notice when Comey says he's vindicated, he stops at his vindication there, saying Horowitz said there was no evidence of political bias. He stops there. He does not get into the depth of the whole investigation.
Okay, so another question. So Horowitz did not have the authority to investigate the Fusion GPS submission to Brennan?
Well, the only access he had to Fusion documentation or evidence was anything that was submitted to the Justice Department. If there was any documents or something outside of that, he couldn't get those. He couldn't have access to them. So he was exposed to some, but not certainly all, and certainly probably not most of the meaty stuff. But to all of you, trust me, you see it yourself with Lindsey Graham's opening remarks. There is no vindication in that report. There is no vindication in that report if you deal with the bulk of the report. But if you want to say the bulk of the report is the sum total of just Horowitz's opening, bottom line, then he's vindicated. But that's what Lindsey Graham kept trying to say over and over and over. No one in their right mind can look at the 477-page report and walk away believing that Comey or anybody else involved in this thing was vindicated. No way.
Okay, Scott is one.
Another thing, a lot of people are going to be coming and saying, well, why can't they prosecute this thing? Comey's gone. McCabe's gone. Strzok's gone. Page is gone. They're already gone. The only thing left is Barr. And what is that? The prosecutor. But he's got to get through a crooked court system to do that. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Scott's wondering, how much time do you think we have until they do something that'll affect all our lives?
And by the way, I got 25 from Sharon. Thank you. Some of you may have sent something that didn't show up on my phone. If you have sent something, would you please?
Cindy sent 10, Larry.
Okay, Cindy, thank you. Message Mary Ellen, so I know, we know. Come on, folks, please get it now. How much time we got until it affects all of us? Folks, listen to me. Listen to me. What is going on today? You're seeing with the announcement of the charges for the impeachment, it now is directly happening to us. What is going on today is happening and has a direct effect on each and every one of us. Because what they're doing today, unlike all the preparatory work that's been done prior to this, today, what is going on is real, tangible. It's happening right now that they are taking our president away from us. They are taking the affirmative, positive steps yesterday and today to take our president away from us. If we don't fight right now, there's a good chance, and well before election time, we may not have our president and we may not have our vice president because they have done a good job of linking the Ukrainian stuff to Pence as well. So you need to think of it in these terms. If they are successful at getting rid of Trump, they will get rid of Pence as a function of that step now, the way they've set this up, which leads to one thing and one thing only, and that is Nancy Pelosi stepping in as interim president. And they're doing it to you right now. This is immediate. This is not futuristic. This is not hypothetical. This is the real thing happening as of yesterday.
Well, so James asked, why can't they bring Steele into Congress since it started with him?
And they bring Steele into Congress?
Yeah, Christopher Steele to testify.
Graham will be able if they have a Senate trial for the impeachment. Yes.
So Pastor Roach is saying.
Let me ask this: what, James, to all of you, let's say we end up in the Senate trial. Graham has the trial, and he's the head of the committee that will be overseeing the trial. What do we gain by Steele coming into the trial, being brought in to the trial? I mean, we'll get his testimony, but we already know, based off of what the IG report and summary, that Steele stuff was not true. We already know that. And we already know, thanks to the IG report today, I'm not yours, his words, we know today that they knew it was not true. And we also learned today that they forged the document to make sure that it kept going, even when they knew it was, when they knew he was, he was working for the CIA. So you see, I mean, everything we would find in that trial, we know today. So what purpose does it serve? Is my point. Go ahead.
So Pastor Roach says, wouldn't a more appropriate question be, did you find evidence of bias subsequent to the opening of the FBI investigation? But did anybody ask that?
Yes. And the answer is yes. But they have skirted around that, and they have put that into the category, Pastor, of one of the issues that should be fixed so that it never happens again. They have not dealt with what effect did that have, what effect does that have on our situation today. That's what's missing. I think that you're missing. No one has come out and said, okay, since we know they've done all these things subsequent to the initial predication, and the subsequent stuff was obviously wrong, illegal, criminal, treasonous in some areas. What do we do about it other than saying we just need to fix it so it can't ever happen again? What do we do about it now? And nobody is saying that yet, but it's coming. If you will help me, it's coming. Yeah, I ask you to help me. Help us, not me, help us. Help us get the work done that's got to be done immediately, fast.
Oh boy, something just happened, and oh my goodness, I don't know what happened. I just bumped something on my computer, and it's all wacko now, and oh goodness. Somebody's asking again about citizen's arrest. The answer to the citizen's arrest is if you go try, they will arrest you. So no, you can't do that. Couple people are talking about saying there were significant errors and they targeted Trump, didn't help him. And Wesley's asking a second time, can the local sheriff do anything? You already said no. And James is asking, can we go to the Supreme Court? You've already talked about that. So folks, go back and listen, because you have to go through the lower courts to get to the Supreme Court.
Let me say this about the local sheriff. Maybe I'm too abrupt in my answer there. It would not hurt any of you if you have access to your local sheriff to talk to them and ask them if they would be on the lookout and try to help us by warning us if they see any intrusion into this campaign or this election cycle with people being run for prosecutors there locally that are connected with, George Soros and Antifa or any of that group. So, you can ask them to be on the lookout for that and to let us know if Soros puts a candidate in your race, in your area. But at this time, there's nothing the local sheriff can do, even understanding, which I know is where the listener is thinking, or what the listeners think about, which is the awesome power that the sheriff has, county sheriff has. And at this point, What else?
Gloria sent you $5. Folks, we need some more people to try and match them.
Guys, I'm telling you, I've got to get somewhere around $2,600 fast. That's how much it's going to take to get people moving and rolling and getting the stuff we've got to have found. But you're out there chipping in, all of you. This is a war day. This is the day we go to war. This is the day when it's not for just the hell of it. It's not for just sustaining. It's not, I mean, this is a war day. This is a day where we got work that must get out and get done.
Okay, we've got 2 questions that I'm going to answer. Mary's saying, can we ask them to man the polls? Absolutely. You need to do that too. And can we go to hospitals and retirement homes to get people to vote? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Democrats are great at doing that. We need to step up that game.
Yes. You will need to do that fairly early in the process because they're doing it already. They're going and getting hospital and nursing home administrators in their pockets early.
Yep. Yeah, talking to the administrators, yes. And Mary, you asked if you could call me. The answer is yes. And I did you see my phone number? It's in the description box under the video. Or it's also on the website, nicholslive.com. And we need to share this video, folks. We need people understanding what's going on in these hearings. And we need people to like the video. We only have 2 people that have hit like yet. So we've got 93 people watching right now. So hit the like button, and as soon as we're done, share it. We need to get other people helping. We really need to get this money coming in.
And we need to, one thing you should all do, take note. As you go through the rest of the day and the evening, it would be interesting to see how many other programs or how many other people share with you the trick that I told you about today. Let's call it the riddle of see how many people tell you about that. See how many people tell you about that.
I haven't seen it anywhere. Has anybody else seen anything about the riddle?
Now, I'm calling it riddle, so we won't go by that name out on the TV or the internet or whatever.
No, but you know, the fact that
it'd be interesting to see who else goes to the trouble to explain to y'all the difference and why Feinstein can say what she's saying at the same time Graham says what he's saying, and both technically be true. Think about it.
Mary, why are you saying no? Because Big says if you want your vote to count, use a paper ballot. Absolutely, that's true.
What? I didn't understand me saying no. Did I say
No, I said Mary. Somebody named Mary said no, and I don't know what they're saying no to. Big said if you want your vote to count, make sure you use a paper ballot, and that is absolutely true. And Sharon asked, do you think the FBI is coaching the Democrats on how to waylay Trump?
Yes. Yes. You know, we've got one tier of bad guys out of the FBI that you would be extremely naive. You would be dangerously naive to believe that there aren't people in relative positions they left with virtually the same posture. Well, look at Ray. I mean, does anybody see a massive improvement between Ray and Comey?
They seem like they're working in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Gloria said paper ballots only, don't vote early. Do any Democrats still have a conscience? I think we've had a couple that said that they would vote in the House two Democrats said they'd vote against impeachment.
The only conscience you're going to find in Washington, D.C. when it comes to members of Congress, truly either side, either party, the only conscience they've got relates to what conscience they've got to have to keep their job. That's our conscience. That's what guides them. And we will use that on them. We will.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, everything having to do with making phone calls, immediate stuff going to our senators and such, that has to do when it's the time, specifically when it's the time for voting on the impeachment, if it comes to that in the Senate. It's not going to hurt you to call them now, just to let them know they need to be thinking about it. That's not going to hurt us at all, but I'm just telling you the true push for calling. That's when it will come.
And people have asked you to repeat the riddle. So that the riddle was, how did Lindsey Graham talk about the political bias? And within the first minute of Dianne Feinstein, immediately afterwards, she's saying there was no political bias. And so the question is, how can one say, yes, there is, the other say, no, there's not? And the answer to that riddle was, they said there was no bias in the prerequisite, which had to do with Osprey, who received the information initially, and nobody knew who he was, and he was very professional, not using government property to express his opinion.
Yeah. That guy did not in any way apparently leave any signs or trails for Horowitz to find that he was politically biased for or against Trump in any way. And you just have to parse the words real close. What Horowitz said was he found no evidence or proof of political bias in the prerequisite portion of this investigation. And he did not. All right, guys. Well, I'm spent. I'm hurt because we didn't get what we've got to have, and I don't know what to do about that. I'm scared. I sure wish there's some one of you sitting out there that could send 500 to 1,000, and you need somebody on the road immediately. And it costs money to put people traveling. Not me. I can't. Wish I could.
Folks, we need to do something. Everybody needs to get off this call when Larry gets off. Everybody needs to do something to raise some money to help Larry. Remember, his PayPal account is nicholslive@aol.com. If you go to the website nicholslive.com, you've got the direct link to PayPal. You've got his mailing address, but that is not going to, unless you send it overnight. He needs the money right now. The other possibility is to text me 240-499-6729. That is in the description box below. And text me for some alternatives. There are a couple ways that we can hurry right now and get money to him immediately. So text me about that. We can use Western Union. We can use Zelle.
If you're listening, you've been such a great supporter and friend. This is huge, buddy. So if you could help, again, please. This is the emergency. But anyway, let me get off.
All right, Larry. I've got some people I'm going to try contacting right now.
Well, I love the question that I got. I truly do. I love the question I got about, can you tell us, what effect this is having on us in individually immediately at this time? That's a great question, because for the first time in all these years we've been talking, folks, the situation that's going on today, the things that are being done today have an immediate impact on your life. Your life, not the country's life in general, your life. Because we're going to lose a president. And when we lose that president, everything that you hold dear is going to change. And it's going to change now quickly. It's going to change very fast. The money you have in the bank is going to be different. I've told you before, when it comes to this nationalizing of the banks and all the junk they're going to do, remember, if you can't touch it, you ain't got it. I bet there's not a person on this phone right now that can reach out this second, maybe other than me, but maybe there's a lot, I don't know. But anyway, just reach out and touch every cent you got. I mean, touch it, physically, touch it. If you can't, you don't have it. You don't have it. Now that sounds like one of those scary, conspiracy kind of things that you hear on the internet, but that's coming from me, folks. I'm not telling you that to hoover you up. I'm telling you that. Think about it, and think about Greece, Portugal, and other countries like that, Venezuela, countries that have gone through this. Dear God, help. With that, I've got to go. I hope to see y'all tomorrow, but I hope that we meet the goal today, because I need people to be on the road. Thanks, Mary Ellen.
Yeah.
Everybody, thank you.
And thanks, Larry. All right, Wesley, thank you for the suggestion that we try selling furniture. I just sold a piece of furniture, and I will send Larry. I needed to buy some firewood with it, but I will just stay cold. I don't know how I'm going to survive that, but I will just let the house be cold. And this is more important. I can stay in my bedroom, and I can keep that room warm. So I know all of us wish we could do more, and I wish I could sell my furniture for more than I got, but at least I got something that I can. And I will send something to Larry right now as well from the proceeds. And folks, we have people in alt media, we have people that we know we need to communicate somehow to folks today, right now, that if we don't keep Larry in this fight and help him to pay for the help that's needed, Larry can do things behind the scenes. Larry is a volunteer. He gets no money for anything he does to help except from us. And he can do things behind the scenes that nobody else can do because he is not on government payroll, so he doesn't have the limitations that government employees have. So anything he does to help, he cannot be paid for except by us. And I know this is really frustrating to him and to us that we're all too poor to do much. And I know we are doing what we can, and this is a really awful time of year to ask people to do more. He knows that, I know that, but I've told you that I've taken a jar with I put two $1 bills and a couple quarters in the bottom of the jar, and I knocked on doors, and I know that people live in areas where they're not allowed to do that. I get that. Ask if you can do it at the grocery store. Let them, go out there and just say, hey, we need to help, especially if you live in a conservative area. I mean, I'm not going to go over very good in my area asking for doing stuff like that, because I'm in I'm in the worst gerrymandered and one of the most liberal counties in the country. So, I do what I can, and certainly do as much as I can online. And I know the social media is an issue. James, you asked about firing Christopher Wray. Larry said earlier, I guess maybe you weren't watching or listening at that point. He said that he wishes that Trump would fire Christopher Wray as well, but it would not be politically expedient to do that right now because of everything going on. It'd be one more thing for them to come after him for. and think it's all, political games. It just, timing is everything. And don't forget, folks, when he put that name forward, he's not the one that selects everybody, and they give him a short list of maybe 3 people to choose from. And Ray was probably the best of the 3. And that just means the other 2 would have been horrendously worse. So, Trump's hands are more tied than we realize, and he is doing everything he can do. And like Larry said, he is frustrated that he can't do more, but he can't. And there's a fight going on right now with the separation of powers, where each branch is trying to usurp a little more of their power over the other to try and keep things balanced. But of course, balanced to some people, if a narcissist, a balance means if they don't get 100% of everything their way, then they don't think it's balanced. So we got some issues there. So folks, I'm going to get off. I need to get on the phone and get on the computer and email and try and put the word out to see if I can help raise some funds. So let me get on the phone right now and do that. I don't know if I can come up with anything, but I'm going to try. And I hope you all will do whatever you can to try. There are people that who raise good amounts of money for whatever they're doing. And we need to, doesn't hurt if we all contact the same people and say, hey, we need some help right now with this right now, because if you don't help and we lose, we're done. And whatever you are hanging on to, you will lose anyhow. So that being the case, folks, I will say thank you. God bless you. We'll talk tomorrow. Bye.